Was the WNBA draft rigged? That's a real question. It's a question that needs to be answered. It's a question that'll probably never get answered. But the way the WNBA draft popped off this year, it was very, very hokey and very, very funny and very, very suspect, right? And you ask, why am I saying that? Well, I'm saying that for a number of factors, and we're going to talk about those factors in this video. Let's talk about it. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Her Game, Her Way Women's Basketball, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. I am your host, Rudy Rodriguez Showmont. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Ring that bell, leave your comments, hype the video. Let me know what you think about this WNBA draft. We did that. We had the pleasure of doing a live for the WNBA draft on Monday night. A lot of fun, very entertaining, a lot of crazy stuff popping off. But at the end of the day, Azzi Fudd was the first pick in the WNBA draft by the Dallas Wings in shocking but not shocking fashion. Shocking because realistically, she's not a number one pick. If she had been drafted last year, she wouldn't have been a top five pick. Um, and if she was drafted next year, she probably wouldn't be a top five pick based on the potential players who could come out of the draft. And the reality remains that despite the fact that she had a great Final Four a year ago while playing as the third option next to Paige Bueckers and Sarah Strong, her role changed. Her role changed this year as a member of the Connecticut Huskies. She was not the third option anymore. This time she was the second option, with Sarah Strong being the clear first option as the National Player of the Year. Now, think about that. Your teammate was the National Player of the Year, the Big East Player of the Year, the Big East Defensive Player of the Year, and you, the second option, was the first pick in the WNBA draft. Now, does that make sense to anybody with any sense whatsoever? In this draft, you had Olivia Miles, who was uh, obviously a first team all Big 12 player, the star of her team, the number one option for her team. You had Lauren Betts, the Big Ten Player of the Year, the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, first team All American. And she was the clear number one option for her team that won the national championship, by 4 touchdowns. And then you have in this conversation a widely unknown player in our fam. You could say you know her, you don't know her. She's played in Europe. She's played younger people. European talent, I don't care what anyone says, is not the level of the college women's game. It just isn't. And professional women and professional European talent is not the level of the WNBA American players who played in women's college basketball. So she's drafted largely based on height, wingspan, presumed athleticism, and watching her play just a few games realistically, and maybe some time playing for the Spanish national team, in different events. But so she's drafted more off of the old school NBA style, which was potential, because she's young, and you really won't know what you've got with our fam until probably year 4 or 5. And by that point, she would have been played out in her first contract. And considering the fact that she got drafted by Seattle, who has Dominique Malonga and Ezzy Magbagor, you got to wonder, where does our fam fit in? Or maybe someone might get traded at some point. Who knows? We'll see. And then you have an Azzi Fudd. But then you also look at a Cody McMahon, again, a number one option at Ohio State, number one option at Ole Miss this year. Sure, they didn't go as far. She's not surrounded by the McDonald's All Americans that Connecticut has all around their roster, that largely, in a lot of senses, are misused by Gino Auriemma because he doesn't trust people. He trusts his older players and he doesn't trust his younger players, and it shows. He doesn't have the depth that you would perceive that a team with that many type of players, those All Americans in high school, would have. Like, you would think that UConn could really go 10 deep against anybody, but they can't, and they don't, because he doesn't trust them. And so you got Azzi Fudd. Never been the number one option, not since high school. Yes, as a 10th grader, she was considered all world. As a 10th grader, they would have projected her as the number one player in the draft whenever she came out. Sure. In high school, pre knee injury, national player of the year as a sophomore in high school. Incredible. Incredible. But the reality is, you have not fully developed as a 10th grader. And I'm sure the knee injury that she suffered hampered her growth, because when she came back as a senior, she wasn't as good. She wasn't as good. even though she was still the number one player in her high school class. But she wasn't the player that she was as a sophomore, not statistically. And then she deals with a number of injuries. Like she has been injured a lot in college. Like this isn't an opinion. This is the reality. She's been injured a whole lot. So when you look at her collegiate career, you have a player in Azzi Fudd, and by no means is this to diminish her ability or talent. And I know people are going to lose their minds. Some people lose their minds. She played 2 games in the 23-24 season. She played 15 games in the 22 season. She played 34 games in the 24-25. Like, she's been hurt every year. She played 25 games in the 21-22 season. She's only played 1 full season of basketball in college. 1. And that was this past year as a senior at UConn. She played 39 games and started 39 games. And it was her best season of her career because she had more opportunity, more shots, and so forth. And also wasn't the focal point. And while she wasn't the focal point of the offense, she was an integral part of the offense, an integral part of the success of the team. And you saw in the Final Four when she couldn't make jump shots, they couldn't win against a real squad. Against the bums in the Big East, sure, they can win. Against Notre Dame, sure, they can win. Against North Carolina, sure, they can win. But against a South Carolina, against a UCLA, against a Texas, you shoot 3 for 15, Azzi Fudd. Your team is probably not winning that game, especially if Sarah Strong goes 4 for 16 at the same damn time. But I've compared the two games from both players, and the reality was Azzi Fudd was wide open the whole game, and Sarah Strong wasn't. Sarah Strong was being guarded crazy hard, where Fudd was coming off the screens and taking wide open shots on shots that she typically would make. That said, throughout the year, she'd been projected as the number 1 pick to Dallas pretty much since the last Final Four because she played so well in the Final Four. It was named MOP, and she'd basically been projected as the number 1 pick overall for almost a year. And you're looking at this saying, how is this player who's been perpetually injured all of a sudden has a good couple of games in the big stage? How does this person jump into the number one projected draft slot? Well, we all know what it is. It's Paige Bueckers. It's their relationship. And it happened after we found out that Paige Bueckers and Azzi Fudd have been dating, which is a problem in itself, in my opinion, as a professional athlete. You should not be dating your teammates. You should not be dating players in the WNBA. I mean, quite frankly, it should be completely forbidden for players to date people within organizations in their league. Forbidden, not frowned upon, but completely forbidden. And people say, well, how can you forbid it? No, you can forbid it. You can forbid it. You can put measures in place to forbid that. If they do it, they will be suspended. And again, the problem, and again, you say, well, how do you do it? Well, the reality is this. You can see when 2 people are dating in a locker room, as I discussed with the ladies from the mid-majors, and that happens. One of the men experienced that in high school and college with teammates doing this. And you knew when there were problems in the household, in the dating relationship, because it would come right into the locker room. It would come right into the locker room. And there would be problems in the locker room between the 2 players. And this is the WNBA. This is your job. This isn't high school. This isn't college back then when they were not getting paid NIL money. But you saw her shoot through the rankings when it was turned out she's dating Paige Bueckers. Let it not be confused. Paige Bueckers is better than Azzi Fudd in basketball, period. And although Azzi Fudd won MOP last year, that was because all the focus was on Paige Bueckers and Sarah Strong. And Azzi Fudd was able to freely roam and get open looks. And last year, she hit them. If she hits those shots against South Carolina, they beat South Carolina. They play for the national championship. Maybe I think UCLA, based on what they look like, probably would have beat them as well in the national championship. But you never know. You never know. You get one of those heater day shooting performances, and everything's off the table. But then you have after the draft, after the Final Four, now you got these other mock drafts popping off. And let it be known that the mock drafts do not come out of thin air. Mock drafts do not just, I'm putting names on paper. Because if you're putting names on paper based on production, role, etc., without even attaching a team to it, if I tell you that X 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, It doesn't matter. I don't care who the team is. Are you really putting Azzi Fudd at the top of the list for the class? No, you're not. This is a league that is driven on agenda. It's driven on it's an agenda driven league. It's an activist driven league. It's driven by so many things other than the actual sport. And that's the biggest headache that's involved in the WNBA, period, is that it's driven by so many other things besides the actual sport. Because if we're drafting based on sport and winning and what is best for the team, Azzi Fudd's not the number one pick. You cannot tell me that she fits a situation in Dallas for which you just re-signed Arike Gumbawale, who plays the exact same position she plays, shooting guard, and you just paid her a boatload of money to do it. This is not even this is not reality. This decision made zero sense. So you look at the team and you say, okay, you just signed Arike Gumbawale at $1.19 million. Why? Because there was no logical reasoning, right? And yet there was very logical reasoning to draft Lauren Betts. There would be more logical reasoning to draft Olivia Miles over Azzi Fudd than Azzi Fudd over Olivia Miles. Although Lauren Betts to me was by far the most obvious number one pick in this draft because WNBA teams still play from inside out. These are facts. I'm not making it up. But here you go. This is the mock draft of April 8th by ESPN1 Michael Volpel, who covers the league, who clearly has information that, again, mock drafts don't come out of thin air. They come from conversations with front offices and sources within teams. So on April 8th, here we go. WNBA mock draft 2026, Miles replaces Fudd at projected number 1 on April 8th. Now, I don't really know why Miles would be the one that replaced her at number 1 and not Lauren Betts, but that's how it flipped for Michael Volpel. And here we got Olivia Miles. And then you had number 2, Awa Pham. And then you got number 3, Azzi Fudd. Now, in this case, Azzi Fudd did make more sense than drafting Lauren Betts at number 4 because they have a big-ass team in Seattle. And yet they still drafted Awa Pham, which literally made no sense to me as well for their needs. But this is what you had on April 8th. April 8th. What took place between April 8th and April 13th to make the Dallas Wings reverse course and select Azzi Fudd at number 1? Because on the morning of April 13th, the day of the draft, guess what happened? Michael Volpel releases a new mock draft, and guess what? Magically, Azzi Fudd returns to projected number 1 on April 13th at 7:50 a.m., as you can see right here in the story. What happened? Why would that have happened? Olivia Miles was a far more important need if you compared the two guards than Azzi Fudd. Paige Bueckers is a combo hybrid guard. She's not really a point guard. She's a ball handler, but she's not a real point guard per se. And she really played off the ball at Connecticut pretty much the entire time she was there. So you could have taken Olivia Miles, who's a legitimate point guard, and moved Paige Bueckers off the ball. To me, you should be trading Arike Gumbawale. That's just my opinion. But I don't think they're gonna. But you could run a 3-guard lineup because Arike Gumbawale is not a point guard either. She's more of a scoring guard who is really a shot chucker. And now you have all of a sudden we're back to Azzi Fudd at number 1. And what Azzi Fudd does well is she's a shooter. College women shooters I've ever seen. I'll say it. Her release is incredible. She's constantly moving. She's moving off screens. She's an incredible shooter, which is why that game against the South Carolina, those 3 games back to back, we're like, what is going on with her? Even that said, had she played great, I still don't think she's the number 1 player in this draft. So I bring it back to you and say, if you just put the names on paper of the best players in this draft, Azzi Fudd's probably not even in the top 5. She's probably not even in the top 5 because realistically, she does one thing really, really, really on an elite level, and everything else is just mid at best. She can't dribble very well. She has no left. Her defense is good enough. She's not a finisher at the rim. Most of her shots come from 3-point range. I mean, you can go look at the statistics. She shot 13.7 shots per game, and she shot 6.7 threes. So she's basically half her shots Half her shots are from three-point range. I would venture to guess that most of her two-point shots are layups, uncontested, no less. The girl shot 45% from three. That's exceptional. That's exceptional. And if you look at the year before, it's very, very similar. In fact, if you go to her 2023-24 season, well, that doesn't really count. It's only 2 games. But you go look at her 22-23 season, she took 6.7 threes and 6.3 twos. So she's always been very, very in the middle with how many threes to twos that she takes. So her game is outside the 3-point line. It's outside the 3-point line. And I don't see her just even against South Carolina. She couldn't finish wide open 8-footers. She shot an air ball with a wide open 8-footer. She couldn't make a layup, uncontested, no less. Left hand, she doesn't go left very well. She's not getting other people. She's not someone that's getting 5 assists a game, 6 assists a game. So you have a player who's a role player, and the only reason that you would draft her to Dallas is because of her girlfriend. And really because of the freaking dichotomy of the WNBA, which they are trying to push narrative. They want to create marketing angles and storylines to their teams. They don't want to have a Caitlin Clark situation last year where she gets injured and basically people just turn the television off. Even though the people turn the TV off are really just Caitlin Clark fans and not WNBA fans. So they don't really care about anybody else in the league. But at the very least, if you create a story of, wow, we got these 2 number 1 picks back-to-back girlfriends who went to college together and now are in the WNBA together. Oh my God, the drama, the toxicity, the issues that can arise, the skill, all these different things play in. And it's like, oh, maybe I need to watch this because, maybe I need to watch this because who the hell knows what we're going to see. But from April 8th as the number 3 projection, after being a week before the number 1 projection, to April, because she was number 1, then number 3, then number 1 again, to April 13th, the morning of the draft, what happened? My belief, again, I can only speculate. And that's why I say, was this whole damn thing rigged? Because my belief, they got a call from the WNBA, the Dallas Wings, and we're told, we need you to draft Azzi. Like, let's cut the shit. We need you to draft Azzi. We need to have the Azzi Fudd, Paige Bueckers story front and center when the season starts. No less playing Caitlin Clark in the season opener. It makes it even more insane. You're not only going to have these 2 girlfriends on the same team, but your first game or the preseason opener, are they playing the season opener too? Yeah, they're playing their first preseason game against Indiana, and they're playing their season opener against Indiana. So we've built in this crazy story, and this game will probably do 3 million viewers. It will probably do something like some crazy number. And we're building up this story because this story doesn't exist with Lauren Betts and Paige or Olivia Miles and Paige. It only exists with Bud and Paige. So they're pushing a marketing attack. You got her in a whole lot of commercials this past year. Most people don't know who Azzi Fudd is. And I'm not talking about the avid women's basketball view. I'm talking about the general person has no idea who the hell Azzi Fudd is. Realistically, you don't know who she is. So you make or you know her as Paige's girlfriend. So you have a league, and I believe that this is happening in all the leagues. I think there's rigged shit going on in lotteries and drafting that is well beyond our knowledge and will never be reported because it would just tarnish the league and show that the whole thing is a fixed job. Cooper Flag goes to the Dallas Mavericks after they dump off Luka Doncic, and magically the Mavericks get the first pick in the draft. Magically. Magical. It's a magical situation that they get the first pick in the draft when their odds of getting that first pick were like almost, realistically, they were very, very, very low because they were a play-in team in the playoffs last year, and they end up in the lottery and end up getting the number 1 pick in the draft. Like with the odds that are almost impossible to have it happen, and they get number 1, and guess who they got? They got the new Great White Hope in Cooper Flag on their team. You think that's by accident? There's enough stories about the lottery being funky, Shaq going to Orlando, LeBron leaves Cleveland, and then Cleveland gets the next 2 number 1 picks in the draft. The next 2? Come on. It stinks. It reeks. It reeks of something being fishy. It reeks. So, yeah. So instead of having your team get better, getting a center, which would be very, very helpful to that team, we're gonna We're gonna tell the Wings, look, we need you to draft Azzi Fudd. Mind you, they still play in a 7,000 seat arena. They still play in a Band-Aid box. We need you to draft Azzi Fudd because we need to create these storylines. We need to create the marketing ideas. We need to do a lot of stuff that we can't do if you're not drafting Azzi. And so, yes, I think the WNBA draft was rigged because it's rather insane that an ESPN reporter reports on Thursday, 9th, 11th, 9th, the Wednesday before the draft, the 8th, and the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th. And on Monday morning, the day of the draft, the projections have completely shifted back to AZ. Really? Did she get that much better over 5 days? Did the analysis of her game get that much change like that over 5 days? No. Information came back to that reporter, and that's what that reporter put out. Because that's what the reporter was told by some source on the team. And more than likely, this all popped off because a simple phone call from either Adam Silver or Kathy Engelbert or through those channels said, we need you to draft Azzi Fudd. And that's what. Y'all let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. Let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think. You might think I'm completely off, but I don't believe that. I believe this thing was a fix. And I don't think Dallas will be that good this year. I don't think they'll be that good because they drafted a role player number one. You never draft a role player number one. At least not a, see the thing, a perceived role player. I perceive her as a role player. Most basketball people perceive her as a role player. She's not a star. She wasn't the best player on her team in college ever. This isn't the high school 10th grade version of Azzi Fudd. So again, it ain't about, and it's not about diminishing her or anything like that. It's about there's narrative that this league likes to push. And so, yeah. And I almost wonder if there was conversation with drafting Raven Johnson to the Indiana Fever. Again, another creative storyline. It's all too convenient. But y'all let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. Hype the video, like the video, share the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, man. I appreciate y'all. This is Her Game, Her Way Women's Basketball. Powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Come on now.